Good day. This is William Garvey, Editor-in-Chief of Business and Commercial Aviation magazine. Today we're speaking with Rhett Ross, the President and CEO of Continental Motors Group. Ross is an engineer and former submarine officer with experience in all manner of propulsion and alternate energy technologies. His Alabama-based piston aircraft engine company was acquired by China's Avic International in 2011 and 2 years later added Technify, a German diesel aircraft engine company. Ross was attending the recent Aero Friedrichshafen show in Germany when we spoke. Rhett, FAA has been pushing hard for the creation of a lead-free avgas. What concerns have you, if any at all, about that effort?
Well, I don't have any concerns about the technical potential and the likelihood that we will identify fuel. I think the FAA PAPI process is working very well. As I think everybody knows, they just announced a down select of two companies and two fuels. And I think that's all very good. It's working the process. Yes, there could always be some future pitfall we haven't found yet, but this is strictly a solvable technical challenge, I feel. What worries me more is just making sure that we, as an industry supporting the effort, and the FAA and the regulatory authorities and Congress and everybody, ensures that this is done the correct way as they roll a new fuel out to the fleet and take into account both the heritage fleet and the new fleet. And there's a lot of logistics to how you perform this transition. So technically, I feel confident that we will get there. I think the devil is going to be in more of the paperwork and rollout side than it is in the technical side.
Continental now has a diesel element in your corporation. And, I've noticed that most general aviation manufacturers have been slow to adopt diesel propulsion. I'm curious, what do you think is the cause of their reluctance, and is there something wrong with diesel power?
Well, there's nothing wrong with diesel power. It's a great product. Everybody that flies one swears by it. There have been a lot of things. It's been a slower GA economy. It's, certification complexity of aircraft. So regulatory aspects that slow things down, make them more expensive. All of that weighs on people. We had some product improvements, for example, in our CD100 line that we needed to do. And, I'm happy to say that yesterday here at Aero Friedrichshafen, we announced that our CD100 series diesels have increased their TDR to 2,100 hours, and that we have also increased the major replacement components, the gearbox and the timing chain, to 1,200 hours. So it makes the economics even better. Cessna has started taking orders on their Cessna 172 Jet A aircraft. Piper has our 100 series on theirs. I think it's just like anything new in aviation. It comes slowly. People are uncertain, not about safety or reliability. It's new, and new takes time. But we feel very good about our product breadth. We feel very good about the interest in the activities we have, and we feel very good about the diesel experience. Very industry-leading reliability, as well as now having a fleet that's achieved over 5 million flight hours since introduction and delivery of in excess of 4,500 engines to date.
You've mentioned that there's some very practical aspects to diesel power compared to avgas power globally.
It is the big thing, and I think that's where everybody's focused is, the availability of avgas, with the exception of the United States, where avgas is available. It's very expensive, either due to the cost of transporting it to the point of use, such as you find in Africa and Asia and some other places, or it's expensive because of just the taxation regime, such as Europe. When you look at it, what is diesel? Diesel is a global fuel, because every airfield, and I don't care whether it's a grass strip or the largest airport in the world, has Jet A on it. You can't say that as it relates to avgas. And so what diesel does more than anything else is it opens up an export market for piston-powered aircraft that has always existed but has never been very large because of the lack or cost of fuel. Jet A fueled engines changes that dynamic. And so what we've already seen is that most of the aircraft that are Jet A powered by us go not into the United States, but they go to Europe or Africa or Asia. We're seeing a lot of interest out of North America. And Jet A reduces complexity on the airfield. Maybe now you only have to worry about one fuel. And if you understood the environmental compliance requirements of maintaining above or in-ground fuel tanks, you'd understand that if I could get rid of a set of tanks because all of my aircraft are now simply Jet A powered, wow, just simplified and reduced your complexity and your costs. You have to have less trucks driving on to deliver fuel. You only have to keep one refueling truck instead of two or three. So people have to look at this because the economics become just much, much bigger than if I'm an individual plane owner and I'm just worried about the difference between Jet A and avgas. If you look at the broader cost structure, it does create a lot of benefits, and those become especially obvious for large operators, which is where we're seeing a lot of interest coming from globally, including the United States.
I know you're in Friedrichshafen for the General Aviation Air Show, and I know there's clear evidence there of a growing interest in, among many, in electric propulsion. Do you think battery-powered aircraft will become the great new thing in general aviation?
You're being unfair now. You're asking a guy who likes to have things go round and round and bang, bang, bang with the sound of combustion. But I believe, in all candor, I believe that someday batteries will get there. But aviation is not going to be the driver for battery technology. It's going to be automotive. And that means that batteries are never going to be perfectly optimized for aviation regime unless the Boeings and the Airbuses really drive something there. And, indeed, Airbus has announced a partnership with Siemens, and they're looking at this. We're seeing innovation. I am interested. We're watching it. We're looking at it. We're talking to people. It opens up a lot of very interesting things and avenues. I think maybe someday people will find electric aircraft or battery-powered aircraft viable. But what I'm always going to remind people is until we 100%, and I am not saying this as an environmentalist, but until we 100% remove fossil fuels from our grids, batteries are not zero emission. They are simply a way to have zero emission at the point of use, not necessarily at the point of power production. And when people talk about how efficient batteries or how efficient hybrid systems can be, people are still forgetting about the total energy cycle. So if I'm going to run a power plant and I'm then going to transmit up power or up voltage and then transmit and then down voltage and then transmit to the charger and then have charging losses and so on, one would ask, are you really looking at a high efficiency cycle, or what's that play to against on a total carbon footprint? And I don't know the answer. I'm sure I'll get tons of very knowledgeable people who will give me the numbers, and I hope they show a great positive benefit on the total energy cycle. But again, that's why we're looking at it, because we believe that there may be some things that say hybridization and electric is a good way to go long term. Continental's been around for over 100 years, and I definitely want to make sure we're here for another 100, so we've got to be thinking about the future.
We've been speaking with Rhett Ross, the president and CEO of Continental Motors. This is William Garvey, editor-in-chief of Business and Commercial Aviation magazine. Thanks for listening.